Welcome in episode number 41 of the St0ner Sports Radio Podcast. Today we have OU football update from insider Zach Huffman. He'll give you the latest on the OU skill position set here as we are 2 weeks away from college football kicking off and 3 weeks away from the Sooners hitting the field. We'll talk about the Pac-12 win totals. Who should you bet on? Who should you stay away from? And we'll hit up the new uniform lines. Who's looking bad? Who's looking nice? He's got his opinions. We'll take a look at the images and we'll let you decide. And then preseason NFL is underway. We'll give you our thoughts about that here as this episode is getting started. I'll bring you in right now, Zach. How are we doing on this happy Saturday?
We're doing great. We are doing great. Very excited for football returning, or college football returning in 2 weeks. Preseason NFL's happening right now, just in the other room. I'll tell you what, that Bears-Titans game, that's a good one. If you aren't watching it, it's a good one.
I've been doing some Jacksonville State rebuild on NCAA 14 on the stream, so we've been rolling with the Gamecocks. We've updated all the conferences. Just wouldn't let me put 18 teams in the Big Ten, so I've 16.
Yeah,
and
I would love to. Sorry, but I'd love to talk about the new NCAA game that's supposed to come out in 2024. How you feeling?
We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see if franchise mode is ready to rock and roll when it really going to be buggy issues with that. Probably have like a mutt version of something online play for this upcoming game. EA can't stay away from microtransactions, so I anticipate that happening, and I hope the gameplay it's not a Madden reskin. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
So, but definitely as that goes on, we'll see how that develops. I mean, not a lot of images or anything yet. They're probably in stages of development, getting the UI off. So, not really much on the front other than them winning that case that's getting this back on track. But you've been keeping tabs on OU practice, local team that we like to pay attention to, and you've got some insights on some skill position battles going on and kind of what you're expecting to see from some of these wide out halfback type flex positions, tight ends. Give me your thoughts on how the Sooners are looking offensively at those position groups.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start on what we know, right? What we know is lockdown. And we know, as up in the air as I would like it to be, we know that Dylan Gabriel's quarterback one, at least going into the season. And like you predicted, probably going to be quarterback one through the end of the season. He has a chance to, if he throws, I forget exactly how many yards, but if he throws a certain amount, he'll join top 10 all time in college football yards thrown. So he'll probably stay on all year for that. But obviously we have plenty of depth here at the quarterback position. You got Jackson Arnold coming in at your backup. You got Mr. 49-0 himself, Davis Bevel, coming in at quarterback 3. And even some decent quarterback 4 and 5 options with General Booty, and then the blood of royalty himself, Jacob Switzer. So, we quarterback position, it's always going to be good at OU. We're not too worried about that whatsoever. Now, one thing I also want to talk about that I think is just locked down is the tight end position. So the tight end position is pretty definitely going to be in Austin Stodner's hands, I imagine. I mean, he's returning. He's a senior. He's by far the best on the team from the tight end position. We don't have Braden Willis anymore. So Austin Stodner is definitely going to lock down that tight end position. And we still have other options like Blake Smith who are going to come in and be okay. Some decent recruits coming in, a lot of freshmen on this tight end roster, but tight end's always going to be fine at OU. We both know that. Brent Venables is a tight end heavy offense. When he's coaching the offense, he's always been tight end heavy. So we'll see what can happen here. We all know that Jeff Levy loves to throw to tight ends as well. So I think Austin Stodner is probably getting a lot of touches. He has been in practice. I imagine that he's going to get more targets than possibly half, possibly our wide receiver one. I mean, Austin Stallner might be wide receiver one this season. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
Definitely
possibility. I
possible.
mean, it's a possibility, especially with kind of the uncertainty beyond probably the first two official wide receiver spots. I mean, got out there that's shown
Yeah,
some promise. He seems to be the number one target out on the wide set um, of that offensive attack that they're going to have going this season. But we've always talked about how we think really who's going to be the star of this offense probably going to be the running back room, right? I mean,
yeah,
the offensive line looks like it's ready to go. Um, Running back room has four guys that are pretty well versed in being able to pick up decent yardage. They've all had playing time. We've all seen what they can do in games, and with them being able to gel with that offensive line, that's going to take a lot of pressure off of Dylan Gabriel. He should be able to excel with letting that run game open up holes in defense to hit the ball into, no matter who's trying to catch that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, and let's talk about this running back room. So we got Khalib Hicks, who's coming in as a freshman, right? Um, he's obviously going to be really good. I just don't know how much playing time he's going to get this year.
Probably not a lot.
Probably not a lot of playing time. I mean, unless he gets
Injury.
in a couple plays and maybe he's just that good. I mean, maybe he comes in and maybe we could see him in like a passing running back kind of role. But I don't imagine he's going to get be on the field too much this year. But next year, look for him and Jackson Arnold to start really popping off in college football world in the SEC. So that kind of leaves us with who else we have here in the running back room, which is mostly Javante Barnes and Marcus Major, and then Gavin Sawchuk. So all three of these guys are legitimate running back one options, in my opinion. Um, Marcus Major probably has the most experience. Well, he does. He definitely has the most experience, but he might just be the better option for a team that is probably going to lean on its veterans a little bit more this year. Dylan Gabriel's obviously he's like 24 by now or whatever. Um, Austin Stodner's a senior this year. He's like 22 or 23. Um, I imagine Marcus Major is going to be another one of those guys that the entire position group just kind of leans on. And we'll see if he gets as much playing time as I think he deserves this year. But I imagine that most of the snaps are probably going to be taken by Javante Barnes. What do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Marcus Major, and he's definitely an in between the tackles kind of guy. He's one of those
Yeah,
guys you give the ball to on first, second down to try to set up short yardage situations on third down. Javante Barnes, we know, is your shifty speed back. He's got great footwork. The juke moves are very much effective when the ball is in his hands. And Gavin Sawchuk is one of those guys where he kind of gives you a little bit of both, right? He's kind of versatile, but at the same time, I think his carries are going to be limited unless Marcus Major is effective. I think if Marcus Major
yeah,
doesn't look good, you're looking at Gavin Sawchuk to take reps from him. I think Javante Barnes, his reps are already set. I think he could also be maybe your first down guy, because that, get him in open space, maybe get him on some screens on the outside, because like I said, he's shifty. And that's the one thing we know
yeah,
about him is he's the guy that has the skill set to make people miss. Marcus Major is the kind of guy that's going to run you over, and Gavin Sawchuk kind of gives you the whole wheelhouse, but I don't think he's got the speed. I think he's one of those guys that in the open field, probably going to get caught by a corner or a free safety in the open field, but he's got enough to give you probably 5 or 6 yards, a series if you give him 2 carries. I think he's someone that can give you that kind of production, but it really comes down to the offensive line, which I think has improved
yeah.
vastly, and that's going to make anybody look good running the football.
Yeah, and because of that offensive line is why I think I agree with you here that we're not going to see as much of Marcus Major as we normally would because the offensive line is good enough to get these guys out into the open field, where guys like Javante Barnes kind of thrive. But that brings us to the anomaly of the team, arguably the shiftiest guy on the team based on what we've seen in practice so far this offseason, the shiftiest guy on the team, and what a lot of people are saying is going to be the best player on the team is Gavin Freeman. Gavin Freeman listed as a wide receiver, but is really anything you want him to be. He's really the Debo Samuel of the team. I think I said that to you at some point. I think he's gonna play that Debo Samuel kind of role where, you know, maybe this running back room doesn't matter as much as we think it does if Dylan Gabriel's, gonna throw some checkdowns to Gavin Freeman and try to get him in an open field. I mean, Gavin Freeman's out here hurdling dudes who are standing straight up in practice. Um, no reason for that. I mean, it's cool to see, but like you said, you probably don't want to be doing that in practice for injury reasons. But this wide receiver room is honestly going to be an interesting one this year because I think right now we're pretty set in stone based on Brent Venable's comments and in practice that Gavin Freeman is wide receiver one. Um, I'm not surprised by that, especially given last year he showed a lot of flashes of being a really, really good wide receiver and kind of really shifting the open field. But there are some other guys that you think would be wide receiver one, like Stoops. Drake Stoops he was wide receiver one last year, and I think this year it's going to be tough. It's really the battle of the really fast white kids in the wide receiver room for OU right now. I mean, you got Gavin Freeman and Drake Stoops going at it, and then at the top of the wide receiver room too, you still have other key players like Jalil Farouk, who saw a lot of snaps last year. And he's going to get a lot of targets this year, I imagine. The wide receiver room is another place that OU has significantly improved on offense. Um, and as long as the defense does its job as it's supposed to, I mean, this team is really dangerous. The offense can set them up for a lot, and as long as the defense doesn't just fumble everything and just fumble the bag on every single series, like they do every single season. I mean, this team has a chance to go back to its playoff hopes that it had under Lincoln Riley's last couple of years. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this wide receiver room because it is stacked when you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Gavin Freeman, and that's probably your receiver too, right? He's not the tallest guy on the football field, and that kind of worries me a little bit.
It's 5'8".
Yeah,
It's 5'8".
he's small, but I think that gives
Man,
him.
he's shifty.
Yeah, that's what gives him the advantage. Is he's kind of got some of this Deuce Vaughn shiftiness. We saw him on a couple jet sweeps last year that didn't really yield a lot of yards, but they were trying to give him opportunities to use his speed advantage. Um, he's going to have to be one of those guys that, besides Drake Stoops, is going to have to be somebody that can get in between the hashes and get open on slant routes, those drag routes over the end, and you guys got to hope he gets some yards after the catch. That's what you're hoping for from him. Drake Stoops has been, one of the best route runners in college football, and that's how he gets open. He's got that Wes Welker route running kind of thing where even he makes these angle routes and these outposts and in posts look like how is he getting separation. It's just A, he's fast, but B, he just knows how to get separation from defenders, and that's been able to make Dylan Gabriel's job a lot easier because as much as we talk about future and how good Jackson Arnold looks, I think that shitting on Dylan Gabriel is probably not the right direction because he's not a bad quarterback. It's just those fourth quarters you look at and you go, boy, that's a missed opportunity. Boy, that's a bad mistake. But the thing is like we've said before, it's just a culmination of being in the game so long, taking a lot of reps, and in the end, putting all the weight onto somebody's shoulders that is in year one of trying to get the offensive playbook down, and with so much uncertainty as far as the just the fact that players left and players came, and not having a lot of chemistry. I think you're going to see a lot of those problems eradicated in year number 2 under the helm of DG. And I mean, I think that you're going to be looking at a guy that would weasel his way into that number 4 spot on the Heisman, watch list if he plays to the ability that we know he can, as far as being efficient and not turning the ball over. And with the strides the defense has supposedly been making, I saw a video this morning of Rocky Calmus, and Teddy Lehman, who were at practice yesterday, and they said the linebacking group looks fantastic. Rocky Calmus said they're flying around, they're making plays. They look like a group that's going to be one of the main staples of keeping the run game in check My problem is, can they cover the passing game? Because we know Woody Washington is one of the best corners in the country. We know he's got the talent to be that guy, but he gets burned a lot as well. I mean, you're going to have these guys having to help on defense if these things can't get, together in the passing defense, but I think the run defense is going to be just fine.
Um, I would actually love to pick your brain on this scenario. So obviously, everybody knows the number one play from OU last season was DJ Graham's interception. Um, just phenomenal, just a phenomenal interception. Development that happened in the offseason, DJ Graham is no longer a defensive back. He is now a wide receiver. How one, that's another guy to look out for in the wide receiver room. I mean, it's his senior year. I think they just did it because he wanted to play wide receiver, and like legitimately, he's probably not getting a shot in the pros. But how do you feel about him being? He might slide in there and be, a wide receiver three kind of target if he can translate some of those skills he had at DB over to wide receiver. That's one of those big question marks I'm seeing, both from a wide receiver room perspective, but also a head coaching perspective, because that's a solid, defensive back that you've kind of let go to wide receiver. How do you, what do you do if you're Brent Venables and that just doesn't work out and your passing defense is trash and DJ Graham could have helped out a lot there?
I mean, well, there's your first statement is how much did DJ Graham actually help the pass defense besides that one play? And the answer is
Oh,
not a
he was
lot.
decent.
I mean, he was
He was
decent,
decent
but
though,
but but he
and he's
wasn't.
better than our current. He's better than
Is
our
he
current
though?
options
I,
there.
I think that right now you have a good defensive back room, and I think that with him going to wide receiver, you're looking at a Braden Willis type guy. Not as big as him, but I feel like when defenses are paying attention to Farouk and they're paying attention to Stoops, paying attention to Freeman, he could be that guy that defenses don't account for that slips, out of the backfield, and you're like, whoa, where's, well, how did DJ Graham get the football? Why is he that wide open? Because that's kind of what Braden Willis brought to the table, right? If
Yeah,
they're focused on Stogner and those other three guys, and maybe I'm giving a little bit too much credit to Gavin Freeman, but I mean, because it's probably going to be Stogner, Stoops, and Farouk are probably your top three guys. I mean, if defenses are focusing on those guys, that gives opportunities for people like DJ Graham to be able to get the football in his hands. Now, what do we know about him as a wide receiver? Not a lot. We don't know what kind of he brings to the table other than the fact he switched sides of the football. So I think he is kind of the
yeah.
biggest question mark as far as that goes. I don't know how talented the dude is, but I definitely think that he could be used as somebody that's kind of a sneaky decoy. Line him up like you did Braden Willis as like an extra tight end, have him slip out there. I mean, we've seen how effective they are getting the ball to those kind of players. And if he's able to, have better escapability than Braden Willis, because he was kind of, a fridge with the football. He wasn't really juking anybody. He
Yeah.
was more of a guy that's going to run you over. Um, but he doesn't have that kind of frame, so I feel like he might be a lot more agile. So that gives you a little bit more yard after the catch ability as far as being able to cross the field stuff. But it's definitely interesting, and I think that's kind of one of those things that will develop as the season goes on. But I think these first two games that OU plays, I think you'll get to see a lot of these question mark guys get some good quality reps. You should be able to take care of your opponents to the point where you should be able to get these guys lower on the depth chart some run. So I think that's kind of what you look for. How does he play against these lesser opponents? How good does he look? How good does the backup quarterback look throwing the ball to him? I mean, this could be one of those things, and like you said, Hicks, I mean, that's going to be his time to kind of get some carries. Probably going to look good, considering he'll be going against probably a really bad defense. I mean, but it's all about how that offensive line second unit looks. If they look good, then I think that you're looking at it like a season, like you said, this is probably a 10-11 win season if they look as good as they do in these first two games, opposed to last year where you're like, boy, we're only up by 7 against Kent State. Like what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I mean, those kind of things can't happen if you're looking at a team that's supposed to be competing for a playoff spot. I mean, granted, I mean Kent State also gave a couple good games to some other really good teams, but I mean this is one of those years where you're going to have to really put the pedal to the metal and really kind of show these non-conference opponents OU football and what it means to be a Sooner. And I think Brent Venables is going to have them up for those games, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with those final scores being as lopsided as.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're correct, and I think you're correct in that, and I think that we're going to see I want to go back to a time when I watched OU play live. I watched them play Eastern Carolina, I think. And we beat them like 70-10 or whatever. I mean, that's just a good feeling that that just lets you know that you're really one of the best teams in the country, and you as much as it doesn't really mean much when you beat a team like Eastern Carolina. I mean, it's good to see that the competition isn't there for those lower schools. So when I see a team like Kent State, only down by 7 against, Oklahoma, that's kind of an interesting situation. But like you said, Kent State, they gave some trouble to some other teams too. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
down with whole entire half against some SEC. So I mean, they
yeah,
they they were they gave
scared
Georgia,
Georgia, I believe.
yeah, gave Georgia a little bit of a scare there before that fourth quarter. So I mean,
Yeah,
maybe they weren't as bad as the jersey name might have implied. So that's probably props to them. The flashes were flashing there in the early weeks, and I think confidence had a lot to do with that, and the fact you're getting that paycheck to help those facilities and stuff, and try to bring in more recruits,
yeah.
NIL and stuff. So I mean, now that that's on the table, a lot of these smaller schools are okay with accepting those big paychecks.
So before we move on from OU, I want to talk about um, two more things real quick. First, your opinions on upcoming freshman Peyton Bowen on this defensive back in this defensive back room. How are you feeling about him? And then I wanna see what your prediction is for the Sooners in 2024 in their first year in the SEC with Jackson Arnold at the helm. What are you thinking there?
So as far as Peyton Bowen goes, obviously being an Oregon Ducks fan, not exactly excited about the flip he made, but
Yeah,
considering table, like I said, I think the defensive backs for this team set up for success. I think he's very talented. I think you're looking at a guy that will live up to given as a recruit out of high school, and I think you're a guy that, like I said, could very well be that DJ Graham replacement that's far beyond better than he could ever have been at that position. Hence, him being able to move the wide receiver without the coach being like, well, we really need you back there. I think that was kind of the reason they were like, yeah, let's go ahead and just do it. You got good hands, obviously. Let's try to utilize those more than you probably get to utilize them on the defensive side of the ball. And so I think that Peyton Bowen is going to be one of those guys to look at as far as even maybe in the return game, having him back there because he is quick. And Oregon, they
yeah,
love speed, and that was kind of one of their things is in the back end, they needed that. And, going after him as hard as they did and losing him the way they did, it means a lot to OU to be able to grab a guy like that because, again, we've seen in the past that's been their weakest link has been the defensive secondary. And if you can bolster that up, and as good as the linebackers supposedly look against the run, if Kanik and Stutzman can end up covering some of these guys, across the
hmm
middle and preventing some of these over the middle passes that leave secondary vulnerable to have to make open field tackles, I think you're looking at a defense that's taking a huge step in the right direction this season, as far as being able to look good in the Big 12, and that transitions me into next year in the SEC, totally different ballgame. Have got to make sure
yeah,
these recruits coming in know that you are going to be probably 9-4, if not 8-5. And I think that's a good step to take in your first year of the SEC. I think you're going to lose to some of those higher upper echelon teams, but I don't think they're going to be blowouts. I think you're looking at games that are going to be within 10, 14 points, 2 touchdowns or less with some of these bigger teams because, again, I think in the SEC is attracted to being able to play against the best is attractive to recruits because it preps you for that next level a lot more than the Big 12 has been able to for a majority of the players that have played in it in the last decade. So I think
yeah.
that you're looking at a lot of upsides for teams like Texas and OU to be able to bolster their rosters, track them, and take them away from some of these schools like Kentucky, Ole Miss, Arkansas, even maybe snag a couple from teams like Florida and LSU. The big guns, like Alabama and Georgia are going to be the ones where you're going to have to struggle to take those players away from them because they've got the tradition of being able to win, big games and be able to hoist that trophy at the end of the Texas and OU have not been able to do. So I think that that's going to really be the story coming into this next year. I think Jackson Arnold's going to be fine. I think that he is going to be mentally prepared for these defenses, and I think that if the defense this year that he's going to go up against in practice is as good as advertised, and I think that they are prepping him for an SEC defense that he'll be able to pick apart if he's got the skill position players to do so. And I think they're going to be attracted to play for OU. So I think you have a good setup try to launch into that SEC tier next season and be successful.
Yeah, so I don't remember the schedule off the top of my head, but I know a couple of opponents that OU's got in that first season. Obviously,
Starting
Alabama's
out with
coming to
Houston
Norman.
and Maine as your two non-conference games that you had to replace
Yeah,
because so I mean Houston, that's going to be a
Houston's
big
not going to be
measuring
easy.
yeah, it's going to be a
Yeah,
big
it's not
measuring
going to be
stick.
an easy game.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially they did a couple years in the Big 12 at that point. It's not going to be an easy game. That game's going to be tough, and Maine should be an easy game, but you never know with those teams that you never really see on TV. They could
No.
always have a little upset. But some of the higher echelon SEC teams that we're going to be playing. So I believe we got Alabama at home and in Norman, and then we have South Carolina in Norman, and I think it was Florida is coming to Norman. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. And then LSU, I believe we got to go over to LSU that first year. I think they have eight home games and 4 road games for OU, which is
Got
pretty decent. But
got Houston at home, Maine at home, Lane at home, Temple at home, Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee as all your home
Tennessee,
games.
Tennessee, that was who I was confusing for Florida.
So um, definitely kind of Tennessee and Alabama are probably the games that people are going to. Temple doesn't get me excited. Tulane, they're going to lose a lot of their players
Yeah.
that were really last season. So that should be probably an easy dub. Um, I mean, it's going to be exciting to see a lot of these big name teams come to Norman, and I'm excited for that tailgating for that Alabama game and the Tennessee game because that's
Oh,
going to be
we'll be
top
there.
notch. That's going to be top
Well,
notch.
we will be there.
Yeah, we so that's going to be those are going to be must watch, must live games for one in the SEC.
Oh yeah.
But let's transition back into this year. We're going to go
Yeah.
over the Pac-12. We've gone over the ACC. We've gone over the Big Ten. We've gone over um, uh, SEC, I believe, as well. Have we gone over the SEC? Uh,
I don't think we've gone over win totals yet for the
okay,
SEC. I don't
but
think so.
we've talked about SEC a little bit. Let's get into the
It's gonna
Pac-12.
be a lot of double-digit teams.
Yeah, last year of the Pac-12, as 8 of these teams are moving on to other conferences.
RIP.
The first one on the list goes in alphabetical order. To be Arizona. They've got the over/under win total for the Wildcats at 5, and right
Mhm.
now Vegas is favoring 6. So they're thinking that the Wildcats are going to win 6, and here are the 6 Yes thinks they're going to win: Northern Arizona, Pep, Stanford, Colorado, Washington State, and Arizona. Those are your wins that they have. The Wildcats. The two that kind of are question marks for me, probably Colorado and Arizona State.
I got them at 4 wins.
Yeah, I mean, losses they have are Mississippi State, Washington State, UCLA, and Utah. Don't really think are debatable. But we don't know how good Colorado is going to be. Obviously, we've talked about the fact they're winning 3.5 games and about it, and that line has not changed in recent days, so it's half. So I think that's a question mark though because we don't know what Travis Hunter company are bringing to this Buffalo's team. How Coach Prime is going to guys up. So I mean, I think that that's still something that could happen as far as Colorado being able to beat Arizona, and of course Arizona State. Rivalries are always up in the air. Um,
Of course.
and they have both Arizona and Arizona State at over under 5 wins. I mean, these are both, according to Vegas, evenly matched opponents. So those games could definitely uh, both ways. Um, I mean, I think you definitely be in the money if you're slamming that 4. But I think to be honest, just smash the exact 5.
Yeah,
I
I'd
think
probably
that's
agree with that.
probably the best bet you could make just smashing the exact five win total for Wildcats. I don't really
Yeah. I
see.
mean, I don't think they beat Colorado. I don't think they beat Arizona State. So I'd be comfortable going 4 wins, but like you said, the rivalry with Arizona State is so up in the air that you might as well hit the five.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I mean they did get
that's a
some,
great line. It's a great
and
line.
they did get some good additions in the transfer portal. They got my best linebacker on my team, Justin Flo from Oregon, and they
Yeah.
got Colorado's best wide receiver, Montana, uh, Lemenois Craig, who was one of their
Well,
top receivers. Um,
I mean, that's because Prime came in and said, "I'm bringing my luggage with me."
yeah, and and so I don't think that Montana Craig was going to get a lot of reps after guys
Nah.
he was pulling. He bailed. So, but those are improvements from what Arizona had last
Yeah.
year. They finished 5-7 last year, which wasn't great. And so I think you're looking at the same kind of season here. I don't think that hitting 6 wins is something that Arizona can do, and that may be due to this Arizona State. So they are smashing the under on Arizona State this year. But Vegas is favoring the over of 6 wins again. So Vegas is favoring over on 6 for Arizona and Arizona State, but CBS says they're only going to win 3. It's going to be Southern Utah,
Whoa.
Fresno State, and Colorado as the 3 wins for Arizona State,
Whoa.
which means,
Three.
which means that they're losing to Oklahoma State, losing to USC,
Yeah.
losing to
Yeah.
Cal, Washington, Washington State, Utah, UCLA, Oregon, and Arizona. But to be honest, I mean, I might just smack the exact 4 on here. They're gonna get one of these. Um, I mean, oh boy. I mean, they have Drew Pine at quarterback this year, the Notre Dame transfer. I think he's decent. Um, I mean, Kenny Dillingham is not a terrible coach. Um, they've got some wide receivers. Another Colorado transfer, Tyson. Um, Xavier Xavier Guillory was an FCS running was other guy from Colorado that they got, and then they got all American FCS running back Cameron Gatebo from Sacramento State. But they've got a brutal road schedule, and that's where most of these losses are going to come for them. But I think in 7 is 3-8,
Yeah, that's tough.
5-6 and 8. I mean that. I mean that's bad. And obviously, if you pick pick the under, which Vegas is favoring under 5 here at -160. Um, I would smash 4. I mean, these are teams where exact win totals are going to win you more money than betting the over under, because I think that you're probably going to win one of the games. I mean, could it be Washington State? Yeah. Could it be Arizona? Yes. But that would include having to beat Colorado, which again, a 3.5 win total for Colorado seems really low for us. We're definitely riding the
Yeah.
Buffaloes heading into this season as a team that's at least a 5 win team.
I think they'll go 6 or 7.
Yeah,
I
I mean
mean,
they have the talent on that roster to do so. I think a lot of people are underestimating the Buffaloes, for whatever reason. So I mean, is 3 wins realistic for Arizona State? Schedule it could be, but I think they
it's
snap.
realistic, but 4 wins, like you said, is probably the move. I initially was thinking 5 wins,
But yeah,
but
who? I mean, you thinking Cal and
yeah.
Washington State and Arizona,
Yeah,
and
I was
then
thinking Cal. I was thinking Cal.
I
I
mean,
mean, like Cal, Washington State, Arizona. I don't think they beat Colorado, which puts them at 5 wins.
yeah, I mean,
So,
to smash the exact 4 Sun Devils. They've got decent talent on that team. Pine is not a bad quarterback. I think the defense is really where you're going to see Arizona State struggle. But that Oklahoma
mhm.
State game is going to be a big measuring stick for the Sun Devils. We said the same thing about Oklahoma State when we went 12 win total.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the win totals have gone over a Big 12, Big 10, and now Pac 12. Haven't haven't touched the and the ACC. Haven't touched the SEC yet, but we've touched the other one. Um,
Yeah,
and
SEC's last, I think.
so this is the time of year, guys, where you have to batten down the hatches and get those bets in. Because I
Mhm.
think this is here that you smash that over on Colorado and under Arizona State seems likely, But if you're trying to win money, you're not going to win any money smashing the under. You're only going to win money if you smash the over or the exact. And I think exactly 4 is kind of where I would sit.
Yeah, I mean, I might actually smash the over because you said it was at 3.5, right?
No, 5. Three and a
Oh, it's
half is
at 5.
Colorado. 3.5 is Colorado.
I thought you said the CBS had Arizona State at 3.5.
They have them at 3 wins. They're smashing the under, but the
Oh,
under is favored at Vegas at -160. So they don't think they're going to win more than 5 games. But CBS says, oh
I would.
yeah, they're smashing the under at.
I think you're safe either way going 4 or 5. Um, if you're going exact win totals, I might lean towards 4 just because 5 is kind of giving them a lot of credit.
Yeah,
And if they have a good season, so I think yeah, exact win totals probably 4. But if you can get a line that's under 5, I might smash that over.
yeah.
I might.
If you can get an under 4 win total
Yeah, like a
somewhere
line of 4.
at a website, then I think smash the over there to try to hedge that 4 exact win total. But I haven't seen that anywhere yet. At least on DraftKings, I haven't seen. Um, so I mean that's probably what I would do: smash the exact 4. Hope that Drew Pine has a couple of games surprises people, mainly at maybe the Cal game, Washington State
Mhm.
game, or the Arizona game, and have Colorado drop off of that win loss list, Sun Devil. Um, and the next one on this list is Cal. Um, Vegas is favoring over 5 wins for the Cal Bears. CBS says they're going to win 4. They are smashing the under at
Yeah,
plus 100. The 4 wins they have, the Bears are North Idaho, Arizona State, Washington. So obviously, we think that this Cal Arizona State game could kind of be even matched. There's a lot of over under 5s in this conference, straight right now, going down this list. So as far as talent goes, Vegas seems teams are very much even. It means these games could swing both ways, which they might just be favoring home field advantage for a lot of these teams as far as who they feel like is going. They have losses
yeah,
to Auburn, Washington, Oregon State, US, Stanford, and UCLA, which I can't debate any of those. I think that those are losses for the Bears. Stanford's still kind of a question mark for me.
yeah. I was gonna
Um,
say Stanford is the biggest question mark there.
I mean, that's
Easy.
yeah, that's kind of the way this is going to be. Um, Now they do have some guys coming in. Sam Jackson, who was a backup quarterback at T starter, he was the third string behind Chandler Morris and uh, Duggan last season. Left to go be the Bears starting quarterback. Um, that first game against Auburn is gonna be one of those you're at to watch to kind of see how those Bears look.
Hmm.
Um, and
Man, they're gonna get smacked.
yeah, I mean I think under 5 wins definitely something I would smash. I don't have a problem with
Yeah.
CBS smashing the under. Which, again, Vegas is favoring 6 wins for the Bears. I don't see 6 wins.
No,
I mean,
no chance. I think
so
this is the third straight. Might just smash 4. I mean,
yeah,
4, like 4 is probably the best win total here. I mean, this Pac-12 is really just a bit mid off right
it
now.
is. It is a mid off, and I
So
think I think that that's very telling of where the conference is right
yeah,
now. And now we get into the most polarizing team of the conference, Colorado. So um, now this is not going to surprise you because the media has just been bashing Colorado. So the over under is 3.5 wins for the Buffaloes, and CBS says smash that under. They're only winning. They think the
we
three.
both know we're smashing that over.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
the 3 wins that they've got for Colorado are Nebraska, Colorado State, and Washington. Have losses on the road at TCU, which that's a neutral site game against TCU. Week 1, lost to Oregon, lost to USC, Arizona State, Stanford, UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, and Utah. But to be realistic, Zach, I think they could grab Arizona State off this, grab Stanford off this, and Arizona. To
I
be
was about to
honest,
say we got them beating Nebraska and losing to Arizona State. That's what we're doing,
yes,
right?
that's what I'm
CBS?
saying. And Nebraska,
Like that's what we're doing?
yeah, and that's where I have a question mark. How are you going to have Nebraska as a win when we went over the Big Ten? Nebraska is supposed to be a good team this year. So if Colorado
Yeah.
can
They
beat,
got Matt Rule. They're supposed to be. They have to be a good team
yeah,
this year. They
so
got a good NFL ready coach. Like
Yeah. I mean, so if
He alone will coach them to at least 5 wins, I think.
yeah, so I mean, I think you're looking at Nebraska as, if you're going to have them beating Nebraska, you have to have them beating Arizona State or Arizona, as well as Stanford being in the mix.
Yeah,
mean,
the 6-win team.
you have Travis Hunter, you have Shadir Sanders. Um, they think that they could possibly beat TCU as win number 4 that week 1, which I have no problem picking Colorado to win that game.
No
Um,
problem. TCU's gonna has lost a lot of talent. They're still riding obviously on that win against Michigan, but like their preseason, they're coming in at like number 11 in a lot of preseason polls. So what are we doing? What are we doing? That's a lot of hype for a team that lost everything this offseason.
and I
I
mean,
mean,
with the way this article reads, they're pumping up Colorado, but they said even if Colorado wins 2 or 3 games, it would be considered an improvement from last, which I feel like says volumes about where they were last season. But I think
yeah,
that
what did they finish last season? Like 1-11?
yeah, something terrible.
Like,
If you're saying 2 wins is an improvement, I'm guessing they went 1-11 last. Because I mean, how do you
yeah,
say it's an improvement if you win the same amount of games? Um, I mean, the biggest part about this that they're harping on is chemistry. You have 70
mhm,
plus new players, which has never been done before in college football, is bringing in technically a whole new team of Frankenstein players from FCS teams that they were really good at, and other D1 teams that want to play for Coach Deion Sanders. I mean, which makes sense to me. Um,
yeah,
but I think that they're really undervaluing the kind of talent that they've got on this roster. And I think that they have more talent than an Arizona State or an Arizona and a Stanford. I mean, for the love of God, give them some credit. I mean, just because you have 70 new guys does not mean they cannot gel in 3 or 4 months. I mean,
yeah.
at least enough to beat these teams, considering the talent level we're talking about. So
And we're seeing a real experiment going on here in Colorado.
yeah, and
I mean,
I think it's
Coach
gonna.
Prime has, assembled this team, and if it all works out the way that he thinks it's going to work out, and if this talent can actually gel the way that I think it can under Coach Prime, then you got a team that in the Pac-12 is competitive with Utah. I
I
mean,
mean, yeah,
like that's a serious scenario. Utah is probably going to go 8, 9, maybe 10 wins this year, and if Colorado is gelling the way I think they can compete with that team.
yeah, and we'll get to Utah at the bottom of this list. We'll figure
Yeah,
out how right you are about that. But I mean, this is a 5-win football team. This could be a
at
six.
least, at least.
This could be 6. I mean, think about this. Nebraska, if you want to give them the win in Nebraska, which again is crazy to have them losing Arizona State and Arizona if they are beating freaking Nebraska. Nebraska's got a good
Mhm,
quarterback. They've got
mhm.
that kid from Texas that transferred up there. What's his nuts?
Casey Thompson.
Yeah, they've got him back there, and again, you got Matt Rule, who had a stint with the Carolina Panthers. So he's already an NFL experienced head coach. We knew how
Mhm.
good he was at
He
Baylor,
was
rebuilding that
yeah,
program from the shambles that Art Briles and his scandal left the Baylor Bears in. I mean, this
mhm.
is a well-known coach that will coach Nebraska to a 7-8 win season if everybody stays healthy. And talking about a team like Colorado, if they're only going to win 3 games this year, how is this going to be one of those games? I mean, if you're thinking they're only going to win 3 games, you're thinking they're trash. If you're saying, oh, 2 wins is really going to be an improvement, I mean, come on, man. I mean, give these Buffaloes some credit. I mean, 3 wins, give me 5, give me 6. I mean, if the 6th win is Stanford, I mean, give me wins at Stanford and give me 7 if you get TCU on here. I mean, this
Exactly.
is a team that could surprise the college football world with being a bowl eligible team this year. And I am totally
Mhm.
on board with Colorado doing just as such, especially as they're making the leap back into the Big 12. So I think that this is, a very good season for Colorado. And I think if you're listening to the media hype them down like they are, then yes, Vegas is favoring less than 3.5 wins. Smash that over. You heard it from here. This is a bowl game team. This is a bowl eligible
Yeah,
program. I will not take any slander. And even if they lose to TCU by 40, I'm not going to look at this as a team that is going to take that and tank the rest of the year because I think they've got the talent to hang.
yeah. I mean, if we're looking to make money on this team, I say go out there, find the highest line you can, which is probably going to ceiling is probably 5 on the lines. I would smash over 5 right now. Find the highest line you can that makes you the most money for smashing an over and smash that over. This team wins minimum 5 games. I think they win probably 6 or 7.
I mean, you wanna make the most money, hit exactly 6 wins. You wanna make the most
Oh,
money,
that
hit
yeah.
exact 6 wins because I guarantee you nobody is jumping on that wagon and you win thousands of dollars on minimum bets. I mean, I'll pull it up right now. I'm pulling it up
Yeah.
right now. I think
I would love to see what an exact bet on 6 wins would get you right now. Like, what would that get you?
I mean this is ball ball. I'm pulling up DraftKings right now, folks.
And I'd love to see what it's like for 7 wins as well, because like you said, TCU, that's a question mark. I mean, that very easily this team could win 7 games. If they beat Nebraska, I think they win 7 games. If they lose to Nebraska, I think they win 6 games. Like,
Yes,
it's really that simple.
loading extra. That's okay. We'll load it. I will let you. Moving on here to the next team on this list, it's my Oregon Ducks. So I have a lot to say about this.
Yeah,
Nine,
obviously.
9.5 is fine. Vegas is favoring under 9.5 wins for my Oregon Ducks. I'm letting you know right now, this is a college football playoff. I do believe that they have a chance to definitely be the crown jewel of the Pac-12 at season. Now, here are the wins they have for my Ducks. Portland State, W. Texas Tech, big W. Hawaii,
Big W.
Hawaii, massive W. Colorado, massive W. Stanford, W. Washington State, W. Cal, W. They have us beating USC at home, and they have us beating Arizona State on the road. The losses they have for my Ducks are on the road against Washington, on the road against Utah, and they have us losing the Civil War to Oregon State, which I don't think is going to happen. So sure, it's
You
a
mean
road. I mean,
Pac-4? Oregon State of the
yeah,
Pac-4
of the
Conference of
Pac Four,
Champions?
yes, of the Pac Four. Um, I mean, this is a monumental mistake to have us losing to Oregon State in Corvallis on the road. It's happened before with better teams. We have choked on the road against the Beavers with less talented Beaver teams. So I can see why they would think we could possibly drop that. Washington game, that's the biggest one for me. If I lose against Washington, props to Michael Penix Jr. And what he brings to this Washington team. A lot of people think he's going to be York. He is that talented, but is the rest of this Husky team that talented? That's kind of the question that is still hanging above the head of the Huskies. Utah, we should dispose of Utah. Their time of being decent in this conference, as far as being able to compete with the likes of USC, Washington, or us, is done. They lost too many guys. Cam Rising is good, but I think that they've lost too much talent to be able to hang offensively. And I think their defense has taken a step backwards, which is not going to help them against the high scoring offense that Bo Nix is about to throw in the face of these Utah Utes on the road. Sure, that place is going to be rocking. Sure, it's hostile. Sure, we got blown out the last time we showed up there. But this is a different team. I mean, I've lost my best linebacker to Arizona State. Or to Arizona. I've lost some guys I've lost Peyton Bowen for Christ's sake. I mean, that was supposed to be our guy in the back end. That was supposed to be the guy. I mean,
Hey, my bad. My
I
bad.
mean, I mean, we lost our offensive coordinator. He's now the head coach at Arizona State. So I mean, there's definitely some change in here for us, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Um, Pass rush is the big thing, right? It let us down last year in a big way. We were not able to pressure quarterbacks. I think that that's going to have to be the big thing that takes a step forward because we can make these quarterbacks get rid of the ball and we can disrupt in the backfield, which is what we're going to do. Um, we should be heading into that Washington game 5-0. It's going to be a hostile environment. That dog pound is going to be rocking. Um, and I think that at the way that our team is built, question mark is going to come down to the defense. I mean, this is kind of OU, with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield type of defense that we're looking at the offense being able to score at will, but the defense not being able to stop a nose. And if we can change that
Yeah.
narrative, we're looking at a team that's going to be representing the Pac-12 in the college football playoff. It's not going to be Washington, and it's not going to be Utah. It's going to be us. And I think that that's kind of what we're looking at right here. I have Bo Nix winning the Heisman. I think that this is going to have to be the year that he's going to have to show up and bring that kind of performance because of the lack of defense. He's going to put up buku numbers. The numbers are going to be wild. He's going to put up the stats. It's can he get the wins going against these big teams like Utah, Washington?
Well, I have a few things to say about Oregon there, especially Bo Nix. Do I think Bo Nix will be in New York?
Okay,
Possibly.
I've got the number.
Um,
I've got the number for the Colorado exact win.
oh yeah, tell me.
You want to hit 6 wins? It's at plus 1,500 for 6 wins. Bowl eligibility at plus 1,500. Smash that bitch now. I am not even kidding. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'll put 100
literally.
on that right now.
I mean, even if you throw a tenner, I mean, that's 160 big ones. I mean, you want to throw 100 on there, get you $1,600. I mean, that's what you're looking at right there. And even 5 wins at plus 700, not a bad bet to make as well. I mean, I think that that's definitely something that you could see for Colorado.
What's the line?
But
7. Go ahead and let 7 wins load. I want to see what that looks like.
that's plus 20, 25, plus 2,500.
Oh my god, I'd
Plus
smash that.
2,500
Okay.
for 7 or more
That's
wins
crazy.
for the Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah, but back to Oregon.
Let's talk Oregon. So, do I think? All right. I don't want to crush your dreams.
If you want,
I
okay,
don't
if
think
you want to make money, bet the over 9.5 because I'm at least beating Oregon State. Okay, but at least give me the Beavers.
I think they win 10 games. I think Oregon wins 10 games. They don't win the Pac-12. As much as it pains me, as much as it pains me to say, USC is running away with this conference this year. I'm sorry, it's going to happen. Caleb Williams is going to win back-to-back Heisman's, I think. I don't think Bo Nix is going to have the most passing yards or touchdowns in his own conference. Um, Still think he'll be in New York. I think he'll be the 4 guy in New York. I don't think he'll be Dillon Gabriel, as much as that pains me to say. I think he'll probably be someone like Bo Nix, or you know, or Washington wins 11 games, and that's another scenario. As much as that probably pains you to hear, I think Washington. A lot of people have Washington as a top 5 team in their preseason polls. Most of them have them as a top 10 team. A lot of them have them finishing as a playoff team. I think Washington is going to be dangerous this season, but I think USC probably runs away with it, and then probably loses in the conference championship. Maybe to Oregon. That might be the case. I just don't think that Oregon has. Um, I don't think Oregon's an 11, 12 win team that also wins the conference. Um, Earlier, about a week ago on Twitter, you put up your playoff predictions, and you had Oregon, Alabama, Michigan, and Florida State. I don't hate that, and you've had Bo Nix winning the Heisman, but I don't think that we see a Pac-12 team go to the playoff this year. I think they're going to eat each other alive. You think Utah is going to be really bad? I think they will be worse than they were last year. I still think they can beat USC twice.
Didn't say really bad. I just said compared to what Oregon brings to the table, it's not going to be enough to hang.
There, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I mean,
But
they're
this
still a
team
9-win
is always
team.
going to be competitive. Yeah, like
Utah's still a
going
9-win team. Yeah, like they're not bad, but they just won't beat us.
If you had them play Oregon, Washington, and USC all in one season, which they will, they're going to win one of those games. Like they will. They're good at winning big games. I wouldn't be surprised to see Utah in the Pac-12 championship again. I think they are a good team with good coaching. Cam Rising is good enough to get them there if he needed to. But I don't think any of those teams are playoff teams. I think the playoff teams are as follows, and bias here, OU obviously. But I think a Big 12 team gets in there, and it will be either OU or Texas in the playoff. Georgia, Ohio State, North Carolina.
Carolina.
We have very different playoff predictions. Oddly similar though, based on kind of like styles of teams.
Yeah.
But with Oregon, I just don't think that Oregon is going to get to that playoff spot. But it wouldn't. I don't know how to put this. I don't think they get there, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them in the playoff.
Yeah.
They have a great coaching
because how
mark.
the rest of the teams could devour each other, it could kind of open that. And if the ACC falls apart, having 2 SEC this year may not be because that
Yeah, but
offense might eat itself as well. We'll get into that next week. I
yeah,
mean,
I just don't know if I think you're right that Oregon's defense is going to resemble very much of like a 2017, 2018 OU kind of situation. But man, I mean, USC's in that literally in that situation. It literally has the same coordinators and coach as those 2017, 2018 teams. USC is going to have a bad defense again because Alex French is still there, and as long as he's there, that defense will be bad. We both know that.
yep.
But their offense is probably going to be better than Oregon's. It's
But we
hard.
won't play
It's
him until the
difficult.
Pac-12 championship, so we'll figure that out then,
Yeah,
which is good
yeah.
news for us. But I mean, I think
Obviously, yeah.
I think that's kind of good news for the Ducks. I mean, I would smash
It's
the
good
over.
news
I
for the
mean,
Trojans too.
smash the over 9.5. That's all I can say is smash the over 9.5.
Yeah, I'd
Um,
smash 10 wins
I think
on an exact total. I would smash 10.
yeah, I think 10 wins is definitely achievable. I think 11 is in order if they play to expectations. I think they could nab that Utah and Oregon State and win 11-1, losing to Washington on the road in Week
I
6.
agree with that.
I think
Um,
that's totally possible. Um,
and if this defense is just a little bit better than we think it could be, that's a 12. That's a 12-win team.
or if Michael Penix gets hurt by then or something. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot. There's a lot that can go into Pac-12 as far as upper echelon of the Pac-12. Like you said, the rest of the teams are kind of a mid-off. But here is the next team. It is my rival, the Oregon State Beavers, over under 8.5. Um, Vegas is favoring the under 8.5, but CBS says pick the over. This is a 9-win Beaver team. Here are the wins: San Jose State, UC Davis, San Diego State, Washington State, Cal, Arizona, Colorado, Stanford, and Ducks as 9 wins for the Oregon State Beavers, with losses at home and Washington as the only losses
um,
regular season. Beavers, your thoughts?
I count 7 wins. I count 7 based on that schedule. They don't
And
beat
Vegas would not
Colorado.
disagree with you. Vegas would not disagree with you.
Mhm. They do not beat Colorado. They do not beat UCLA.
I
That
mean,
that's as simple as I can get with it. That's a 7-win team.
yeah, I mean, I not beating my Ducks.
No, yeah, no chance. Yeah,
Um,
I agree with you. No chance they beat Oregon. Oregon is good enough that they should beat Oregon State by 50.
ooh, I
They
mean,
should.
that'd be nice. I mean, I think it'd more
But
be like a
it won't
20.
be by
It'll
50,
be like a
but
20-point win, maybe a 20-point
yeah,
win,
it
maybe.
won't.
I would even
It'll be
accept.
by more than 3 touchdowns. I'll give you that.
Would even accept a 17, considering the talent. They won 10 games last year without DJ Uyunglele, which is
Yeah,
something that this kind of this hype is kind of based on the fact. Well, if they won 10 games last year with the additions, there's no way they don't win more than 8. And I think that that's a logical thing. Um,
but
but
the
I
rest of the Pac-12 has gotten better.
yeah,
Oregon's gotten better.
everybody else has
Washington's
gotten
gotten better. USC is USC, and I mean, the rest of the Pac-12 has gotten better. The reason that Oregon State won 10 games or was it 10 games last year or was it 9?
10. It was 10,
Yeah,
double
that's
digits.
ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah,
that's crazy. But the only reason they won more than 8 games is because of how trash the Pac-12 was last year.
I mean, Oregon wasn't trash, but most of the
They weren't
Pac-12.
trash, but
It,
they weren't as good as they should have been,
and the thing
and
is,
that's
is
why Oregon State can get away with that.
in Oregon State might beat Utah. Don't know. I mean, I don't know where they've got Utah at right here, but they avoid USC. They
Yeah,
avoid having to play them, which is a win for as far as someone wanting to pick the over, which is the only way you're gonna make money if you're betting on the Beavers 8.5 here. Um, I just don't see it. I see 8 wins being the max here, with them losing to my Ducks as loss. I think they have losses to Utah, Washington, and Oregon. I think the rest of those games are winnable. Colorado might even be a loss as well. I mean, it could be a 7-4 kind of team. Instead of 9-2, uh, like they think is going to happen this season.
yeah. Um, 9 is a crazy line, or what is
Well,
it? It's 8.5, and they're asking you to smash the over.
yeah, they
I
said they're
mean,
going to win 10 games. They said they're going to win 10 again this year, and that includes my Ducks. That um, I think
Listen,
games
this
that might.
team is about to get damned to the Mountain West.
Yeah,
Like this team is not a 10-win team. This is a 7-win team. I am smashing exactly 7 wins. I'm sure that gets me a decent amount of money. Um, yeah, no chance. I think eight's the ceiling, like you say.
can't bet on exact wins for Beavers, which is kind of shocking. Um,
Yeah.
but as far as the as you could probably, because they have it at 8.5 at +1. So you bet $10 bucks. I mean, I think that I I don't know if I would take the over 8.5. I think would find an exact line for this. I think probably where you smash it. I think Oregon State's gonna be a good bowl team. I think they've got the offensive talent. Defense, like it's going to be just as stout as last. Um, but it just depends on how DJ plays, and he can use the weapons of Damian Martinez hold his disposal the right way. Um, so I mean, I think the under, which Vegas favors the under, is the right way to
Yeah.
go. Here's Stanford. Boy. Um, oh, Vegas favors under 3 wins for the Cardinal. They think Stanford is going to be boo boo kitty bad, which
I
again,
mean,
which again makes it crazy to have Colorado losing to them. For the love of God, I mean, why are we having Colorado lose to Stanford if they're only going to beat Hawaii, Sacramento State, and Cal? They include Colorado in here as win number 4. Vegas says if they win 4 games, if you bet $10, you win 11. CBS says hit the 4. They think they're going to win 4. I think this is a 3-win football team. Take Colorado off that list. They have losses at USC, Arizona, Oregon, UCLA, Washington State, Oregon State, and Notre Dame as their losses. And I think if Stanford is this bad, I think that I have no problem picking Colorado to beat.
yeah,
I would say go with Vegas, and we're looking at a team that's terrible in the Stanford Cardinal.
yeah. I think you're right. This is a 3-win team. But God, how funny would it be if they beat Notre Dame? Oh my God, that'd be hilarious. Um, I think I'm with you here. 3 wins exact, probably. I mean, they're not going to beat Colorado. They're going to win against what is Hawaii, Sacramento State, and who else?
Cal.
Yeah, like that's probably close to correct. I don't know if they beat
I
Cal,
mean, Cal's a
but
5-win team according to this. I mean,
yeah, like
they
I
they
think
they
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 probably
think
lose to
Cal's only
Cal,
going to
so that
win.
might be a 2-win.
They think Cal is only going to win 4 games, but Vegas says they're going to win 5 or more. So if that's true, then that should be a loss as well, and you're looking at 2.
Yeah, I
So
think 2 wins might even be a little bit of a moneymaker too if you can get smashing exact on 2.
I mean,
Yeah,
if Stanford was on this
and
DraftKings,
I do want to point out that we're not probably not going to get to talk about this team too much, considering they're not in a conference. But Notre Dame, um, we're not really probably going to do a win total on them since they're not in a conference. But that's another team to look out for that that could slide into um, the playoff with the ease of their schedule and everything.
I mean, they have right now Notre Dame's win DraftKings sorry, at over 8.5. So Notre Dame is a 9-win football. You want money. Um, but I think Notre Dame is probably a 9-win because of the easy.
Yeah,
And
just wanted to throw that out there since
Navy
we
game
never
ain't
get
gonna
to
be
talk
easy
about
though. That Navy game to open up the season is not gonna
it.
be easy.
No, it's a measuring stick game.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, Navy is a team that could finish top 25.
yep.
I mean, so that's they'll probably go down as I don't think Navy's ranked in the preseason. Probably as they shouldn't be, but if they're ranked at the end of the year, I mean, that's a decent ranked win again for Notre Dame if they can get it.
Yeah, but Stanford, boo boo kitty bad.
Yeah, I agree. Boo boo.
I think smash the 3 if you can find the exact 3. Because they're not winning 4 games this year. CBS is gonna be wrong on this one again. And you're looking at a really bad, especially department of uh, um, lack of
Just
how they look.
terrible
You,
team.
you so have fun in the Mountain West,
Hey,
Stanford.
they're going to play school over there, all right?
Yeah,
Like
they're playing
they're not
school.
going to play
Yeah, they're
football. They're
not
playing
playing. Yeah,
school over there.
the days of Andrew Luck and being decent are over.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, no more Andrew Luck. Jeez.
yeah.
Also, just want to throw out there before we get to the USC things, which should be coming up soon. Caleb Williams is not as good of a prospect as Andrew Luck.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. But
Um,
continue.
so next on this list is UCLA.
Yeah.
Now Vegas has them under 8.5 wins. Yes, says smash the 9 and take the over on the UCLA Bruins. Um, now,
What? I got to hear this schedule.
yeah. So the wins they have for UCLA are Coastal Carolina, which is not going to be
They
Grayson,
will win though.
because Grayson McCall is a fantastic quarterback. Um,
They'll win that game. I think.
San Diego State, North Carolina Central, so they should be 3-0 after that. Washington State, who I guess is going to be trash. Stanford win. Colorado probably a win, but not going to be an easy one. Arizona and Arizona State and Cal probably all wins. They have losses at Utah, at Oregon State, and at USC. I mean, this schedule is easy. The Bruins did get blessed with an easy schedule, but they could easily drop Colorado. They could drop a Coastal Carolina. Um, those are probably the two I could flip flop. More leaning towards Colorado being an L than Coastal Carolina, but
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina has a good team. I don't think people stress enough how good the Chanticleers are looking with what they've got returning for them. And like I said, Grayson McCall is a dark horse Heisman finalist. You think I'm kidding? I am not. And it has to do
No.
with
Yeah.
the ease of schedule for Coastal Carolina because they're going to be the most talented team in their conference in the Sun Belt, and B, um, I mean, this is one of those games where it's going to feel like that Tulane USC bowl game. That's what it kind of has the feel to me like because this is a game early on in the season. This is week 1 for UCLA, 1 for Coastal Carolina. So I mean, this I mean, this game right here is one that you are not going to want to miss out on because the talent level that you were seeing. But the Bruins landed one of the top available running backs in the transfer portal on
Mhm.
Carson Steele. They're kind of leaning on. Um, as far as being the guy that can help um, uh, Dante Moore is a true freshman they really believe in. Um, so I mean, know,
That's tough.
I mean,
UCLA is
but
a
but
tough,
they don't know
tough
who's going
team
to
to bet
start at
on.
quarterback still for UCLA. It could be
Yeah.
It could be Ethan Garbers, or it could be Colin Schlee. So I mean, they don't even know who's going to start over there for you know for I think that's a big question mark. UCLA says
Mhm.
they're going to win 9 games. I think Vegas is right here, and it's going to be 8 or less. I don't
I think
really.
it'll be 8.
Yeah, I think it probably is 8 exactly. I think they either lose to Colorado or lose to Coastal Carolina. Those are the 2 games that I would circle on my schedule if I'm a UCLA fan, as games we're probably not supposed to lose tonight. And but the thing is you could replace Oregon State as a win and Colorado as a loss and still end up with 9 wins here. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another thing to look at. Utah's on here as a loss. That could, I mean, it's on the road, but again, it depends on what they have Utah as on this list. But I think that could be a win if UCLA can get some chemistry going. But with a new quarterback coming in and a new transfer running back coming in, there's a lot of question marks for the Bruins. I really wouldn't touch this, to be honest.
I actually I might just because I think 9 or the 8.5 line is a little high. I think
But that's the
I
only
feel comfortable. I feel very comfortable saying that they will lose to Colorado. Um,
at home.
so yeah, no, I feel very comfortable just and even if I don't feel super comfortable about Colorado, I think I'll the Coastal Carolina, I think UCLA will win that game just off the rest of the roster alone. But you do have a veteran quarterback coming in that's not afraid of these situations. It is week 1 for both teams, like you said. And I think Grayson McCall is probably more prepared for a week 1 than either of those UCLA, quarterback 1 prospects. But I think they probably grab the win against Coastal Carolina, and I think they lose to Colorado, and I think the rest of those wins are or the rest of those losses are correct. So I think this is an 8-win team.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of swayed me on this. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna touch it, if you can find an exact line for UCLA, smash the 8, but I don't see it anywhere. Um,
Yeah,
if the only thing you have available to you is the over 8.5, stay away from it. I know it's the only way you're gonna make money, because pick, but I think Vegas got this one right at under.
yeah, and here's the thing, even if they don't lose to Colorado, they're I think they're gonna lose one of those games between Colorado or Coastal Carolina, and if it's not one, it's the other. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
USC is next on this list. The over under wins. The over under is 10 wins for the Trojans. Vegas is favoring 11 wins for the Trojans, but they have them losing to Oregon on here, so I'm okay with that. They have their wins being San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State, at Colorado, Arizona, at Notre Dame, at Cal, Washington, and so here's the deal. If you want to make money, obviously you smash the under here and say they're only going to win 9. If you were going to, um, maybe say Notre Dame and are probably maybe UCLA because they played them close last year as well. Washington as well. You have 4 wins on this 11 win, thing I'm looking at that could easily be. I mean,
Oh,
Notre Dame could be a loss. Utah could be a loss. Washington, UCLA could both be. I mean,
let me at them.
I think if you're smashing the under here, and I'm gonna go ahead and look at the exact win SC because I know it's on here. Um, as I pull this up,
Let
yes.
me be
So
a hater.
okay, so let's say 8 wins, right? Which means that they're going to lose at least 2 or more of those matchups I just mentioned. And at plus 550, at an 8-win USC team, uh, 7 or fewer is at plus 800. So it's still worse odds than your over 7 games for Colorado, which is the most lucrative you could smash on this list. Um, besides Nebraska, if you want to smash Nebraska at 10 or more, it's plus 3,000. Wouldn't do that, but they have the line at over 6.5 wins for Nebraska, which is why I'm surprised that they have Colorado beating them, but
Yeah.
fucking Stanford. Are you fucking kidding me? You know. So again, it just fortifies our Colorado bet even more. Um,
Oh yeah.
so I
Can
mean,
I hate on USC for a
go
second?
ahead, go ahead.
With this schedule, it's an 8-win team,
Ah, there you
and
go.
with this schedule, that's an 8-win team, and let me tell you why. Because as someone who had a first person fan point of view of this exact situation they're in right now, Lincoln Riley never had that schedule at OU. All right, and Alex Grinch never had that schedule at OU. So what are we about to see? We're about to see Alex Grinch have to lead a defense against Notre Dame, against Oregon, against Washington, and hell, man, Colorado. I mean,
And maybe UCLA in there too.
maybe UCLA. Like I'm, I might bet on Colorado in that USC game. And that's only because it's going to be an offensive shootout for sure. Neither of those defenses are going to keep up. Just not going to
True.
happen. Neither defense is going to be able to keep up. They're going to get walked over every series. So it's all about who can score the most touchdowns in that game. Shit, Shadar Sanders might just throw more than Caleb Williams in that. I
They're probably
mean,
gonna have more possessions, you think, because
you would think they have more possessions because Colorado's defense is probably better than USC's, if we're being honest. And
not a high
one,
bar.
not a
The
high
bar
bar.
is
I
on the
mean,
floor. All you got to do is
Alex
just
Grinch.
step over it.
It is
But
Alex Grinch. This is the guy that
Alex
was
Grinch
letting
thrives on
like
turnovers. If you can't force turnovers, his defense is trash.
yeah,
I mean, if they can't
exactly.
force turnovers, they're not going to stop anybody. That's kind of what we're looking at. And
Yeah.
they even
And
said
I don't
this.
think they beat
They even
Notre
say
Dame.
this right here. It hinges on Alex Grinch and what he can do with the defense.
And that defensive line has not gotten any better.
No,
That secondary
no.
has gotten a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah,
So yeah, he might get a couple more interceptions.
which is they're gonna need it.
But
Who are they gonna get him
these
against?
linebackers, that
You're
defensive line is
probably gonna
trash.
get those picks against Nevada and San Jose State, which again, San Jose State not going to be an easy win either. Week 1 for them. We'll see that in 2 weeks. That'll be a 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central kick next on 6th.
Let's talk about this trenches matchup that's going to happen with Notre Dame, right? So this defensive line is trash at USC, as every defensive line is trash under Alex French because he can't recruit.
Yeah,
Um, Notre Dame's O line is going to absolutely obliterate that defensive line. I think Notre Dame rushes for 250 plus yards against USC. I mean, I think that's very realistic. I think we're going to see a situation like we had last year with Michigan, when Michigan was just running all over everybody. I mean, Notre Dame is going to run over everybody. Then their defense isn't as good, but like they are going to run over people on that offensive line, and that's going to be exactly what USC just can't handle. So, um, man, this that Notre Dame USC game is going to be fun to watch, and I think that is going to have a lot of playoff implications. USC will probably, if they have, if they are decent up to that point and they win the games that they're supposed to, and let's say they're when did they play Notre Dame? Is that at the end?
7, like week 7, week
Yeah.
8.
So if USC is 6-0 or 5-1 by that time, that game's going to be very interesting. And I think Notre Dame comes out on top. I legitimately think that Caleb Williams is probably going to win back-to-back Heisman's, but I don't think it's. I don't know if he's going to win 10 games. But now I'm kind of thinking like, do you have to win 10 games to be in that Heisman conversation?
True.
I mean, you probably do, right?
I
I don't. This isn't
well, because
this
think
isn't
about
the
this.
NBA
Because think
where you
about
can
this though.
win. You know,
If they're in the 9-game conversation, obviously CBS has them at 11, right? So
yeah,
you're
they
talking
should be in the nine game
so the
conversation.
possible losses, in my opinion, if you're going 9 wins, is Notre Dame and Washington, right? Which means
Yeah,
either Sam Hartman or Michael Penix Jr. beats Caleb Williams. One of those guys, if their seasons turn out the way they're supposed to, might take his spot due to the fact that you know how much NCAA hates the thought of a repeat Heisman win. Um, I mean, as far as taking his spot as winning the trophy, not taking his spot as being in New York. He's going to be in New York, but I don't think that Washington and Notre Dame in the same season would take him out of that conversation of being in New York. Because I
because
think
he's
you're
going to throw for 4,000
yeah,
yards. I
and you're
mean,
still looking at teams like Notre Dame and Washington that are probably also just 9 or 10 win. I don't know what the line is for Washington. We'll get there in a minute, but I mean, I think that you're looking at teams with similar records with similar talented quarterbacks if the seasons pan out the way that Vegas thinks they're going to pan out, and the way we think eyeball wise are going to pan out. So again, I think that if you're going to make money, smash the under 10 here. I think smashing the under 10 for USC makes more sense than losing money smashing the over. I mean, because obviously
yeah,
the only way you're making money on USC is smashing exact wins. You want to smash 11, it's plus 360. You want to smash 12, plus 600 if you want to think they're going undefeated. But I think if you're gonna, smash the exact wins at 11, like CBS says, you're still winning money. But I don't see 11. I say if you want to smash 10, smash 10. That's the lowest at odds at plus 275. You're still winning, $28 on a $10 bet. Not a bad W if you smash that
yeah.
10. But that's anticipating a loss at one of those 4 teams, possibly one of these 5 teams we mentioned. And I think they could easily drop 3 out of those 5 if they don't play good defense, which I think is
Yeah,
almost
and
a
they're
given.
not gonna.
Yeah, it's
They're not going to play good defense. They are going to play at best mediocre defense
yeah.
against teams that they shouldn't score against them. But I'm obviously I have a lot of bias against USC, and people probably shouldn't take my advice when it comes to USC.
But
But
I think this schedule is brutal. And
yeah, the
I
schedule is brutal.
and
I have them at 8 wins. I think you're probably correct in smashing like to 10. So
mean, I would even say
nine,
9.
nine even.
I'd say 9
Yeah,
is probably in the wheelhouse of realism at plus 350. I mean, $35 on a tenner. I would not be afraid to smash that. Because you could easily lose to Washington or Utah or Notre Dame or Utah and Washington along with my Ducks. I mean, and if my Ducks
yeah.
don't beat them, somebody on that list is going to beat them that's not them. So, I mean, I just think that you're looking at a team where double digit wins this year is more unlikely than likely, even though they have the offensive talent to put 60 a game. They're going to need to in order to beat some of these teams because those offenses are just as good and their defense aren't exactly mediocre. They're above average.
Mhm. I
Washington's
think
defense is
with
above average. Notre Dame's defense
yeah.
is above average. Utah's defense is probably average, but again, I'm not high on Utah this season, but I still think they're probably an 8 or 9 win team. Um, but I could see USC
Yeah.
taking care of business. But I mean, that's a home game for them, thank God, because if they're on the road to Utah, who beat them twice last year, I don't know if I would pick them to win that game.
Well, here's what I think, and I think this is kind of this kind of applies to the entire Pac-12 as a whole. But I think this year's Pac-12 it kind of reminds me of like 2019 Big 12, right?
Yeah,
So you have a bunch of high power offenses that are just, we're just 50 versus 50 a game. Like that's probably happening, like OU 63, TCU 52 kind of games.
yeah,
But um we're gonna see like how we had OU at the top. Very good offensive team that just can't win the big games. They're gonna end up 10-2, just like that team ended up being. Um, so that's kind of how I see like a USC or an Oregon this year, and I just think we have a full conference of just very mediocre defenses. You have your decent defense with Washington. That's I wouldn't even say good, decent, and
yeah.
that's kind of like your Kansas State. But like the other than that, I mean, this team, this whole conference just reminds me of huge shootouts, which means one, you're going to want to watch them.
Yeah.
Like these games are going to be entertaining. They're gonna if you're gonna choose between Alabama and Tennessee versus your good Oregon State and Washington. I mean, I'm choosing Oregon State and Washington. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but these offensive, these games are going to have a lot of offensive firepower. Not a lot of defense is going to be played, so they're going to be fun to watch. But I think because of that, we probably don't have a playoff team coming out of the Pac-12, like I said earlier. So we'll see.
I mean, this is exactly the kind of feeling we should have probably about this year because the expectations are high, which I can understand, but I think that they're going to fall short, and I think kind of where you're looking at. Moving on to Utah here, the over under is 8.5 wins. Um, Vegas is favoring under 8.5, but CBS says smash the 9 on the Utah Utes, and here are the 9 wins they have. They have Utah beating Florida, which Graham Mertz, the ex-Wisconsin quarterback, was just named starter for the Gators. I will see if he translates well into the SEC with a better defense per se, and then better skill
He's
position players. They
he's
have
safe. He's a safe quarterback.
the game I'm interested in is having to travel down to Waco on the road. Having to play
Yeah.
Baylor is going to be a must watch. They have them beating Weber State, which and UCLA, which again that's kind of up in the air for me. Oregon State on the road as a W, Cal at home, Oregon as a win at home, Arizona State as a win, Arizona and Colorado 9 wins, losses at Washington. Go ahead and add Oregon on the list as L's for Utah. Go ahead and
Yeah.
probably add even Oregon State on the road maybe as an L. Um,
Uh,
I mean it's
I don't
I mean that's going to be a closer game than people
It'll be a
think.
shootout.
It's going to be
It'll
a
be a
shootout
shootout.
for sure.
I
Um,
think Utah walks away with that one, but I mean, that's don't touch it.
yeah, I mean
Don't touch that game.
start.
Whoever's covering the spread, vote on someone or bet on someone to cover the spread in that game. I wouldn't touch that game, but
Yeah, I mean I think you could Vegas being right at under 8.5 here. I think lose it you probably lose on the road at Washington. You probably Oregon. You might even lose to out of Oregon State. And you could lose to Baylor or Florida. I mean, you lost to Florida last year, week 1, and that wasn't supposed to happen. But this
yeah,
time you're hosting them instead of going down to the swamp, so that might be your advantage. But, Graham Mertz versus Cam Rising is still going to be polarizing. People are still going to want to watch that game. Um,
it'll be a great game.
yeah, I think Vegas is right. I think this is an under 8.5 win. I think if you're gonna smash exact win totals, smash it at 8. I think one of these teams
Mhm.
lost. I think Oregon State or UCLA Colorado, Florida. We got 5 or 6 games on here that could swing not Utah's way.
Yeah,
And
I think they're an 8-win team.
means
Not for
they're.
the same reasons you do.
I mean, so you think USC, Washington, Oregon are probably your losses then?
No, I think they beat USC.
Oh, oh, so you think Utah beats USC and they lose to Oregon and maybe Colorado,
I think they,
Baylor?
I think they beat USC and lose to Baylor. And the only reason I just think they're going to have a hard time going down to Waco. That's the only reason I think they're going to lose to Baylor. Like on paper, Utah should win that
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
but I think
they're
Baylor
going to be
probably comes
favored.
out with that one just because it's in Waco. Utah's not used to that. Like
I mean, Dave Aranda's
it's
pretty good at coaching too.
yeah, and if it's not Baylor, it'll be Florida. I think Utah probably walks away with the win in Florida, but if they do beat Baylor, I think they probably lose to Florida, honestly.
At home.
Um, yeah, I mean, so I think they beat USC just because I think they have Lincoln Riley's number. I mean, I think we have a Lincoln Riley's always got one team in his conference he can't beat. When he was in the Big 12, it was Kansas State. I mean, like now it's probably Utah. I mean, there's no reason they should have lost to Utah last year, and they're probably going to lose to Utah again. So, um, I got Utah beating USC, losing to Baylor or Florida, and then they lose to Oregon, they lose to Washington. So,
Yeah, so I mean, 8-4, saying
yeah,
8-4. I mean, so I mean, we're agreeing with Vegas. They think they got the line at 8.5. Less than
I just
that.
think they got some of the teams wrong.
Yeah, some of the teams are wrong. Win total is right. Under eight and a
Yeah.
half is the go. I wouldn't bet on the 9. But CBS has bet on the 9. Don't bet on the 9. Have the opportunity, which it to at least on DraftKings. You might find it on some sites, but DraftKings doesn't have an exact win bet. But I would bet 8 for Utah if I could smash an exact.
And if the 9 isn't awful either, because they could very easily beat Baylor and they could very easily beat Florida. So I mean, 9 is also good there. I think.
I mean, it's going to depend on the health of Cam Rising. If he gets another
Yeah,
concussion, that's going to be the end for Rising. So
yeah,
it
they'll be a
makes
6-win team if they don't have Cam Rising. So
so. And then we have 2 teams left. It's the Washington teams. First, let's start with the
yeah,
Huskies. The Vegas has under 9.5 as the favorite for Huskies, but CBS says there's a 10-win football game. 10-win
yeah.
football team, folks, and here are your 10 wins: Boise State, Tulsa, Michigan State, Cal, Arizona, Oregon, Arizona State, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State. They think they're the only loss as their only loss this year. Have I have 11-1 as the record for the Huskies.
Wait, who are they losing to?
USC
Who they have? Them,
11-1
they
USC.
have them beating Oregon.
Yep.
Can you hold on, go through the schedule one more time?
Win
Just
at
want to
Boise
count.
State. Win at Tulsa. Win on the road in East Lansing against Michigan State.
Yeah,
At home against Cal.
yeah.
Road against Arizona. At home against
Five.
Oregon.
It's 5-1.
Arizona State at home.
6-1.
Stanford on the road.
7-1.
Utah at home.
8-1.
Oregon State on the road.
9-1.
And Washington State at home.
10-2.
Yeah, so I mean, which is still smashing the over 9.5 and winning money. So 10-2 with losses at USC and at home against Oregon. I think that's a good season for the Huskies because all the rest of those wins are 100% plausible. Oregon State's not going to be easy. I don't.
Utah's not going to be easy. I mean that's
yeah, Utah and
gave me
Oregon
problems
State
there.
not going to be, and on the road in East Lansing not going to be easy either. I know that Michigan State's like a 5-win football team, probably. I mean,
Dude,
I mean,
what'd they give their coach? What's he getting paid?
a lot of money, probably more than he probably should.
Yeah,
They have Michigan State.
yeah, I
they
like
have Michigan State
him.
as an under 5.5. So I mean, Washington probably should beat them on the road, but you know how hostile that environment is, and they know it's going to be a freaking night game. It's not going to be an afternoon. I mean,
Yeah, and East Lansing, that's a tough place to win. That's a tough place to go in and win for sure.
but they should.
I just
Yeah,
they should just because that team is trash. I mean, Michigan State is trash, dude. Like they shouldn't be, but they are.
yeah. Thank you for
Um,
that. Follow Moose Mania, baby.
whoa,
But yeah. So I mean this is definitely a team in Washington that if you want to pick 7-1, that's fine. But I think 10-2 is probably more likely. And then 9-3 is not out of the realm of possibility. One of these Pac-12 teams could step up and bite them. Michigan State, it could be Washington State, it could be Utah as well. Those are the two I would watch besides Oregon and USC as a possible losses for. And
yeah,
and this is how we'll finish out with Washington State here. Washington State, they think Vegas thinks they're a 6-win football team, and right here, uh, CBS is picking the under 5 at only 4 wins for the Cougars. The 4 wins they have for Washington State are Colorado State, Colorado, Arizona, Stanford, which makes sense with the other line. Um, they have losses to Wisconsin, Oregon State, Arizona, Cal, so Washington. Um, I mean, look, I mean, if Vegas thinks they're going to win games, I don't see it. Where are the other games going to
yeah.
come from? Maybe Colorado, if they're that bad, which I'm going to be. Maybe Arizona. Um,
I can see Arizona. I don't. They're not going to beat Colorado. I mean, this is probably a 4-win team.
they're going to Wisconsin either.
I think this is a 4-win team. They're not going to beat Wisconsin. They're not going to beat Colorado.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they've already got those. I don't think the under 5, which is at plus 110. So I mean, yes, think it's gonna be bad. I don't think at all. Um, 5 wins seems attainable with games against Cal and Colorado to determine whether or not the whole game. I don't think Washington State whole game, and I think they are headed to the Mountain West. Congratulations to the Washington
congratulations,
State
you
Cougars.
better
Yes,
learn Mountain West, buddy.
yeah, time to learn Mountain West, buddy. Um, so I mean, that's kind of where we're looking at as far as the Pac-12. Definitely going to be an interesting year. Not going to want to miss a lot of these high-scoring ups. I think this is college football. So I mean, I think overall, I think you have a good slate of teams that you could make money against, and it's pretty big. In that 7 or more, Colorado is looking pretty attractive at 500, considering
Oh
what they
man,
bring to the table. And I mean, you place 20 on that. I mean, that's $520 in the bank, brother. I mean,
I might just have to. I might just have to.
I might have to send the money up to Chuck, Kansas, and get him to give me a 50 on that for $1,300 of money right there. I mean, because I think seven
7 wins,
wins is
man. I mean,
definitely attainable. Buffalo, considering the line is only half for them. Still staying strong on our stance. Uh, Buffalo money. Um, let's get into these last couple here as we've again
yeah,
made a little bit longer today, but I mean it's expected as we go through these conferences and kind of dissect kind of how we think they're going out. It's more depth. You're going to get a lot more
yeah.
coverage you're not going to get on a podcast. Um, let's look at these new uniforms, right? So we had a discussion about this earlier this week, and I'm going to pull these pictures into frame here. Here is the first picture I've got in frame. These are the new UAB uniforms. These are the standard colors of dark green. They've got this one in the middle that's kind of black with gold numbers and lettering. White jerseys here aren't terrible, not very far from their standard uniforms so I don't really these. I just think these are kind of the updated regular thoughts on these.
Um, I don't hate them. They're not great. I don't hate them. They look very similar to their current jerseys. I mean, I don't love the white and gold, but it's all right.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
prefer I prefer
yeah, I
the
mean
dark green and white.
the normal ones are fine, right? Okay, so here's where things get weird here. Got this black and lime green jersey, and we got this gray and lime green jersey as well. I don't really
This
like
is where it gets
I don't really like the gray ones at all, really. Black ones you could probably convince me are okay. Um, but gray ones are
I'm actually opposite here. I would rather have the gray ones than the black ones, I think the contrast is a little bit better on the gray and green, but, you know, I'm talking to an Oregon fan, I hate neon. Like
yeah, yeah.
like,
It,
neon is just so trash on a football field, in my opinion. Oregon's the only team I think has ever done it decently well. So, I mean, you're not gonna get me on board with any of these neon jerseys.
yeah, I think this is kind of a miss for
Yeah.
and here was the other one that came out this week, and I thought this one would be good. This is Florida International's
Uh,
Miami Vice uniforms. You got the neon pink lettering with the blue trim on there. You have the numbers on the all black matte helmet. Um, and the response from this has been positive. There has been
I hate them.
not a lot of bad response. I've heard from multiple people that they are going to buy this jersey, love this jersey. They can't wait to see them trot out this jersey. Me, second image here, him on here, lovely, these lovely palm trees that they've got on the shoulders that are an ombre from the neon pink color they've got. Um, they're very nice. I like the palm. Um, I think these are be one of those that again a lot of people are going to want to buy, just like Miami Heat.
I these are gonna look terrible on a football field. We've talked about these jerseys. Like, one, they're gonna be really hot. Um,
It's going to be a
which
night game. I guarantee you it'll be a brought these out,
yeah,
and they might even have the field match. I would not be surprised if it pulled out the money to have the logo in the middle highlighter pink with ombre. I would not be
dude, I
surprised
mean,
at.
listen, I never really enjoyed the Miami Heat, like, Vice jerseys even. Like, I don't think those are even great. Um, I don't maybe I just hate neon too much, but, like, the problem I see with these is, one, I think the lighting in these photos is doing a lot of justice to how ugly
Yeah,
these helmets are actually going to be, on the field. It's going to be an all black helmet. It's not going to have that pink gradient like people think it's gonna have.
well, it'll the numbers will have the
Yeah,
gradient
the
on there,
numbers have
like, but
color,
it'll just be all
but
black. Yeah, it'll be all.
yeah, and I think the lighting's doing a lot of work here on these pictures. I mean, I'm just not one. I'm not a fan of super bright colors on a football field like this pink and blue. I think it works better on a basketball court, and that's why people like the Miami like Heat Vice jerseys. But um, yeah, I'm not a fan. I know I'm in the minority here. Like I understand a lot of people like these, and I can see why they like them. I mean, they're cool. Like they're different. They bring kind of a different thing. They're the kind of uniform you choose on Madden on NCAA 14. I mean, these are the kind of uniforms you're scrolling down to get to. It's like when you're playing with Baylor, you're trying to get to the all yellow, that kind of weird stuff. But I'm not big on these. I'm not big on them. I told you I'm a fan of the more traditional uniforms. You can't get better than crimson and cream. That's why Alabama and OU both do it. Best two teams ever. So you can't be the crimson. I'm just trying to say that.
um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what how they look on a field. I think it'll how uh, how they look. I mean, those are definitely better than the U. Let's just put it that way.
Hey,
I'd much rather
you
be
give me a
caught.
black field,
Yeah,
the FIU jerseys look good. You give me a black field, but shit, that's hard.
hey, give me a pink
That's
field.
not.
I want the pink field. Give me a pink field.
Hey, I
Yeah,
wouldn't be opposed to seeing that. In fact, I wouldn't even mind seeing like the light
the
blue
teal.
kind
Yeah,
of
the
like
turquoise kind
that,
of.
like
Yeah,
kind of
that'd
like
be nice.
coastal, kind of like coastal
Yeah,
does.
just a brighter one. Yeah,
Um,
just
yeah, like
really
that.
make my contrast on my TV work some magic. Um,
I wouldn't hate seeing that. I mean, like if you
no,
change the field drastically, then yeah, those
yeah,
uniforms could look good. I just don't think they look good
on a
against
green
the
field,
grass green.
if they don't change the color at all, I think they're going to be. I think that if they do and they take the time to do that and want to invest some budget into that, I would not be opposed to see
Yeah,
showcased in the proper setting. Before we get out of here, just thoughts on
yeah.
some of this NFL preseason stuff going on. I know that's been kind of on your mind. Me, say I don't really pay attention to the preseason game. There was a decent one last night between Arizona and Denver, where Arizona won on a 2-point conversion from ex running back Mercado getting that 2-point conversion to give them the
Yeah.
1-point win. So there's been some exciting finishes, but overall, not a lot of really talking points from my perspective. It's yours.
Well, starting off on that Arizona Denver game, Arizona was getting to Russell Wilson a lot. That defensive line looked a lot, it's not their starters, but like that defensive line looked pretty good. Um, Another thing that I wanted to point out is one, the offensive line for Denver isn't looking good. But Russell Wilson played a lot more than he should have. Um, I'm looking at this like here. I saw a tweet earlier from I think it was Mina Kimes that actually did a really good job kind of describing this. Like we have Russell Wilson playing like in the third quarter of this preseason game, and Desmond Ritter didn't take a single snap when Atlanta was playing. I mean, like Sean Payton, I guess, just wants to like get some reps for Russell
I mean,
Wilson
they
in this new
said, yeah,
system,
he
but
said
like
the starters were going to play a lot in this. Peyton came out and said the starters are going to play a ton
yeah, but I
this
thought
game.
that meant for
A
like
quarter.
the entire first
Yeah,
quarter. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that meant the entire first quarter and like maybe half of the second. This guy was
Yeah,
playing like
I
whole
agree with
halves.
I agree with that.
Um,
I think
that shouldn't happen. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He is a Super Bowl. Didn't he win MVP? Like,
yeah,
didn't he win Super Bowl MVP?
yeah.
Like, shit. Like, this dude is a Super Bowl MVP quarterback. And as much as his last season was trash, and as much as like he got clowned on for doing Russell Wilson things, put some respect on his name. Like, this dude should not be playing in the third quarter of a preseason game.
I mean, I to be honest, I kind of liked it because I kind of I think that it was more about showcasing that he's still able to play at it. I know he wasn't playing against a starting defense for most of that game, but I think he needed to get that feel of just being on the field longer. I liked the connection with Jerry Judy. I think that was
Yeah.
a good thing to see between those two guys. I think it was, and Sean Payton's gonna Sean Payton. He just takes these things a little bit more seriously than a lot of other coaches. I mean Baker Mayfield played in a quarter and a half against his game, and I thought he needed
That's
that
me.
though. I thought he needed that though. I think these first preseason games are where you see a lot of these starters get a majority of their reps, so I would not anticipate Denver to really play Russell Wilson the rest of these.
They shouldn't, but I mean, if they do, I'd be seriously surprised. But a really good preseason game I watched earlier today. It was just finishing up when we started here. Was this Chicago Tennessee game? I don't even know who ended up winning that. In fact, let me pull that up. But God, that game was fun. That was a fun game to watch. I mean, Justin Fields was looking like Tom Brady in 2003 or something like this. Just fan. Actually, that's a lie. He wasn't getting carried by his defense. My apologies. He was looking like Tom Brady in 2011. But let me pull up this game real quick. I want to see who ended up winning because I didn't get to see the end of it. So it's just Chicago ended up winning 23-17. So yeah, that's kind of what I expected. Chicago was looking good. The starters were looking good. DJ Moore got his first rep as a Bear, and it was a touchdown. Um, Khalil Herbert had a great run. And like as soon as I tuned into the game, it was like Khalil Herbert busted off for like a 30, 40 something yard check down catch. Um, and he just busted off for like a 40-yard touchdown there. That was a great thing to tune into. Justin Fields goes 3 for 3 for get this 3 for 3 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, on 3 passes.
Pretty good.
And listen, one of those was Khalil Herbert check down. The other one was the TJ Moore check down. But like that offense is looking good. The receivers are looking good. Khalil Herbert is looking good. I mean, this is probably a playoff team. So I'm excited to watch the Bears. They're my pick to win the NFC North. Um, that I think that's going to be a great team. The Titans were looking okay. Their quarterback room is not looking too hot, if I had to say so myself. We're getting a lot of interceptions thrown. Malik Willis threw an interception, I think. Yeah, Will Levis threw an interception. I mean, these guys were not looking good. You had Malik Willis was 16 for 25 on 189 yards, an interception, no touchdown. Will Levis, 9 for 14, 85 yards, no touchdown, one interception. I mean, not looking great if I do say so myself. I remember watching um there was a 3 play segment where we had back to back to back turnovers. You had I think yeah, so the Bears were punting and the Titans muffed the punt. The Bears recover it. Um or maybe it was the other way around. I think it was actually the Titans that recovered the punt that they punted. So muff punt on Chicago's end. Then Will Levis throws an interception on that next play. So it goes to Chicago, and then PJ Walker throws an interception to the Titans. So it's just like going back and forth. That it was just an exciting game to watch. Terrible quarterback play from the Titans. Um, the Bears looked good. PJ Walker didn't look good. The rest of the Bears looked good, and I mean, Khalil Herbert looked good. So we'll see what happens there. I'm looking at the stats right now. I don't know. They're not crediting Khalil, or no, there they are. The receiving touchdown. My bad. But the Bears had 4 quarterbacks play, so that's fun.
Yeah.
Um, but the quarterback play outside of Justin Fields was very bad, and that's kind of expected because, I mean, Justin Fields obviously is going to shine in these games, but I kind of expected Malik Willis and Will Levis to play better than they did. I expected PJ Walker to play better than he did. Um, so yeah, but the starters that shined for Chicago are going to shine during the season, and we're going to see them probably win. I'd say 9 games. Like that's 9, 10, 10 games. Playoff team, I think, probably 10, 10 and 7. That's probably good enough to win an NFC North that is struggling right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. We're just getting into the baby stage of
Yeah,
it
and I think
starting.
my Cowboys I think just started.
Yes.
Um, who are they playing? Yeah, they got the Jags, and they haven't started yet. I don't think they were
Oh,
scheduled to start about 5 minutes ago, but I think they're about to start. So
well,
um,
be taking
that's
that
gonna be a
in.
fun
Yeah,
game.
you'll be taking that
Yeah,
in for sure. I appreciate you taking the time today, friend. Good,
yeah.
good conversation. We'll go over the SEC win totals next week to round out Power Five win totals upcoming college football season. We will be a way or more from college football starting when we convene. So it
Let's
is
go.
coming upon us faster than we expected. Episode 41 in the books. Any last words before we get out of here?
Um, Not too much. I do want to say I'm pretty sure college football season kicks off on my birthday.
Oh,
My birthday is August 31st, and I think that's the first game of the season on that Thursday. So I'm
oh,
excited.
righty. Well, we will see you next week for episode number 42. Keep it locked in. This has been the Stoner Sports Radio podcast.
Yep.